everybody. It's Attempts at Governance, and boy, do we have a doozy today, episode 163, and want to say welcome to everybody on the panel and everybody in the chat today. Hope you're all having a great day. It's about to get a whole lot better. We're going to start with the State of the Treasury. We have a bit of an extended one today, and I'll tell you why in a second. But looking at the reserves on the dot side, we are up 161,834 dot from this time last week, if you count what's in the Treasury proper and the Asset Hub Treasury. That's worth about $647,000 at today's market value, and that brings the total dot Treasury to 21,993,459. But we also have our stablecoin Treasury. Of course, this is up 589,591 stablecoins from this time last week, bringing the total stable reserves to 10,369,646 stables. Now, of course, we also have, what is this, 50 billion dead? 50 billion dead. And I think there is a confirming ref right now, which is going to spend some dead. I'm not sure. But you know what I was thinking this past weekend? You know how everybody was so upset that there was like $800,000 put out to market dead? Like this happened months and months and months ago. Well, we actually have some dead in the Treasury right now that anybody could suggest to spend and trade in for stablecoins and add to our Treasury. If anybody wanted to get that back, it's just sitting there. I think this is like a few $1 million worth of dead. I think so. Anyway, that's the state of the Treasury, but we have something really, really fun to talk about today, and I'm going to call on you, Tommy, to help with this conversation. We had Jonas, Web3 Foundation researcher, who's been working pretty hard behind the scenes to gather feedback on this idea of reducing inflation. Now, inflation today, what's that look like, Tommy? What's the inflation rate today?
Yeah, so Polkadot, I think since the inception had an inflation of 10% per year. And most of that is going to stakers. Part of that is going to the Treasury. And it's 10%. So Polkadot started with 1 billion DOT tokens. And so 10% of that is 100 million per year. Right now we're at like 1.4 million or 1.4 billion or 1.5 billion.
Whoa.
Something around that. So it's 140 million tokens per year that is currently making up the inflation.
Wow. 100.
Should I go into proposals?
Yeah, let's take a look. Then we have 3 here. So he's done 3 wish for changes, and they're each slightly different. And I think the idea here is that if you like one, you vote for it. If you don't like one, you vote against it. And whichever one has the most dot in favor at the end, I think he's going to propose on chain. Is that right?
Yeah, sort of. It's I think it's non-trivial from the game theory. I guess we might have some discussion if they're unclear, if there is a lot of I and nay votes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in general, he defined some rules at the end, the most I votes as the most promising candidate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do these 3 differ?
Yeah, so the first one is basically leave the status quo, leave everything as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the main idea is basically to funnel the whole discussion to something constructive, not just throw out the first whatever parameter proposal on the root track and see what happens, but rather have some constructive discussion by having these 3 different wish for change. So first one is 10%, leave everything as it is. Second one is reduce it to 8%, pretty simple. And then the third one is essentially make it sort of a constant value. So reduce it to 8% now, but then year over year, reduce it to, I don't know, maybe 7%, 6%, and so on in the future.
Mm-hmm.
With the idea that instead of having an exponential inflation, because no matter if you put in 1% or 10% or whatever, it's exponential.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Always inflating a percentage of a larger amount, right? The same percentage of a larger amount.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so the third proposal is essentially proposing to, instead of having exponential inflation, having a linear inflation, which also has a lot of argumental weight to it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so, the first one, I think it's not quite status quo because one piece of this is he's kind of adding in here this fixed income to the Treasury on all 3, I think, right? So right now, income to the Treasury is attached to this concept of ideal staking rate, which is now kind of an outdated parameter that was conceived during when we had parachain auctions, right? So part of the discussion was actually fixing a certain percentage to the treasury, and I'm wondering now if they're all the same or different. So in the first one, it's 10% constant total inflation with 15% of that 10% to the treasury. And let's see what the other ones say. Yeah, it looks like all of them are going to take 15% of the inflation, whatever it is, and constantly feed it to the treasury.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is the change, as you say, because previously there were parachain auctions, and this had an influence, but we're basically simplifying the model now and getting rid of that component.
And it's helpful because, I mean, for the last several months, we've had like very, very little income to the treasury. Actually, is it coming out today? Ooh, I think it's coming out today. Crane has an episode that's dropping maybe after this show on the Coos, pointing out that we've drastically slowed spending. So in the last couple months, the spending from the treasury has drastically stopped. However, the income has also stopped. So we haven't really had a chance to replenish those dot reserves in the current model.
Yeah, and it's also the quarter is coming to an end. So in a month, there will also be the next OpenGov Watch Treasury report. And I have the same feeling that the spending rate has slowed down. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what the report says.
So what do we think on the panel here? Which one do we prefer? Do we like keeping inflation the same? Do we want to reduce it to 8% every year? Or do we want to have the percentage decreasing every year? What do we think? It's not like it's one of the most important. Okay, yes. Indio, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted for the decreasing of inflation. I think this is really a good idea to decrease it, but I would like to see maybe some chart because not everyone can understand in numbers. It would be great to see maybe some charts how this will impact the ecosystem and treasury.
Yeah. Nice. Looks like most of the early voters are in favor of this as well. 85.6% in favor of this one. Under 50% for the middle of the road, and almost nobody in favor of keeping the inflation the same. Anybody else have a comment on this before we move on? Yeah, Jose.
Yeah, I'm no economist, right? But I think low inflation, it's better. That's what people say, right? But these systems are, they need to be rewarded, and they reward a lot of people, right? So hard to say how this is going to swing, right? I mean, we need to be prepared to really, change that back or just, tweak it even more, right? So, and probably that going through governance will take, 2 or 3 months. So, it's a tough situation, but you know what? We need to do something. So.
Yeah, it sounds like it's time for the discussion. Obviously, inflation when you're bootstrapping a network is super important and for the foreseeable future. But the conversation about reducing it could be strong. Yeah, Lex. Oh, you're muted there, buddy.
Like economists, I can suggest you something. So inflation is basically, as economists say, it's a tax for holders, right? So if you generally, when you decide, right, if you want to lubricate the economy a little bit, if you want to give up some money, you want to fund more projects, you increase inflation. But if you want to make people happy with the price of the asset, you reduce inflation. That's basically the whole consideration the national bank normally makes in a normal economy, right? So if you want to lubricate, or you want to keep the status quo, and you want to make people even like spend less, maybe, and things like that.
Yes, we are the national bank, so I guess we get to decide on this one, or at least we get to express our wishes over the next 4 weeks with this discussion. But we'll have to see how that goes. Yeah, Funky?
Just one last comment, because we're seeing a lot of this on Lucky Friday from an infrastructure provider standpoint, where a lot of chains are doing this, having these kinds of discussions for lowering inflation. The Cosmo Hub has already done this with Atom. We just recently passed a prop on Archway, which is a Cosmosm chain. The one thing that I would just warn everyone with is that it may not lead to the result that we expect. because crypto is incredibly volatile as an asset. And I'm not saying that like reducing inflation is not a net good, right? I think argue what everyone would agree with that. But just, I think sometimes, especially because this is an industry where no one is particularly patient, and I don't want people to see like if we do move forward with reducing the inflation to like, oh, why doesn't the number go up? It's not that simple. And I just wanted to like broach that part of the topic. That's all.
Yeah, it's true. And honestly, these are all pretty subtle suggestions. You know, there was that one that floated through a while ago. It was like cut inflation in half, and then that didn't get very far, obviously. So these are baby steps. But okay, yeah. Thanks very much for the conversation, for guys. And Limo, you said there's a new Wish for Change ref posted, or whitelist call?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, new what is the color? But it doesn't have any context. But if you decode it on the collective chain, it's authorized upgrade ref. So it might be runtime version 1.3.0.
That's Donald Murray, who's doing the core time business. All right.
Could be.
We'll have to check. We'll have to check in at the end of the show. Anyway, guys, thanks for that extended State of the Treasury. We'll now throw it over to Funky. Oh my God, Funky! Aren't we all just blessed to have you back? We did think we lost you on some sort of birthday bender. The reports were coming in, and it wasn't looking good. But we're glad to see you in good health and back on the show. Welcome. Let's hear the State of the Funk.
The State of the Funk, Jay, is joyful because how could I not be after celebrating my 49th birthday and listening to what amounted to a funeral dirge when people were singing happy birthday to me. But I did enjoy the laugh. I only saw it after. I did try to log off and just spend some time with family. I was up in Rhode Island in my home state visiting family. So it was a wonderful time. I cannot encourage enough people who are in this industry to take these kinds of breaks. Jay, you especially, which I know is probably never going to happen, but it really does help kind of reset the dopamine addiction and everything else and just really touch grass. The only downside to it, of course, is when you come back is there's just a wall of communication that you have to dig your way through and everything else. But it was still splendid. I really missed you guys in the show, but thanks so much, Jay. As always, let's carry on, my friend.
Let's do it. Thanks very much, Funky. We'll now throw it over to Limo for referenda gone by.
Thank you very much. There are 18 refs to go through. I'll try and be quick. The first one is by C. Dander, the guy that has posted that new upgrade. This is whitelisted caller ref 1107. This was approved, and it registers and onboards the Polkadot core time chain based on the v1.3.0 release. This does not migrate Polkadot to Agile core time, but it's a prerequisite, and there'll be some future refs that we need to approve in order to get moving with core time. Nice. Then we've got Alex GGH on the Wish for Change track, ref 1051. This was approved, and it increases the recommended core count for validator reference hardware from 4 to 8 due to things like asynchronous backing requiring more computer resources. Then we have, I know you're on the show, Imador. I know you're here. I saw you before. Wish for Change from you, ref 1059. This was approved, and it is the inclusion of centrifuge in marketing narratives. Then we have another Wish for Change from Doing Life Well, ref 1049. This was rejected, and it was the Polkadot halving, which was to reduce inflation of DOT by 50%. But as we just spoke about, there's 3 Wish for Changes in about that topic now. And the last Wish for Change is by Super DuPont, ref 1028. This was approved. It failed to execute because he did a remark with event. Don't do that on Wish for Change track. This is the inclusion of Bifrost in marketing narratives. Then we have an anonymous account on the Treasurer track, ref 1033. This was approved, and it closes Bounty 46, which is the AMI bounty program. Wow. Then we've got Beardo on the Medium Spinner track, ref 1082. This was approved, and it's for 50,000 USDT for the Polkadot app, where the Polkadot Community Foundation, the Cayman Islands company, will get the IP rights and some funding for publishing the app. Then we have OTA, ref 1080. This was approved, and it approves Bounty 59, which is the open source developer grants bounty program, which aims to fund 15 projects with grants up to 30,000 USD each. And this bounty was funded with 96,000 DOT, and I believe Mr. Allison Bob is a curator, if I read that correctly before. Then we've got Motif Network. Nick was on the show a few times, ref 1062. This was rejected and was for 122,000 USDT for Motif, a Polkadot proactive staking assistance and that was milestone 2. Then we've got Dane, Ref 1060. This was approved, and it's for 32.4 thousand DOT for Polkadot Live milestone 2 development.
Wow.
So we'll see how that goes in the future. Then we've got Subscan, Ref 1056. They had a better time on Polkadot than they did on Kisama, because this was approved, and it was for 63.7 thousand DOT for Subscan infrastructure costs for Polkadot West End, Rococo, Polkadot Asset Hub, and Rockmine networks for quite a long period, from October 2023 to June 2024.
Nice.
Then we've got Chainwire, Ref 1054. This was approved, and it's for 75,000 DOT for 50 Polkadot ecosystem PR campaigns. So we're not fully dead on marketing, as some people would like, I'm sure. Then we have SR Labs, Ref 1045. This was approved as well, and it's for 43,000 DOT for Inc. 5.0 code-based security audit. Then we've got Ceres Blockchain Solutions, Ref 1043. This was rejected, and it was for 54.5 thousand DOT for Dasbog. I know I said that wrong. It's some German word as far as I know. Oh, no, it was Slovakian word. This is a decentralized PERP exchange. Then we've got The Dots, great Twitter account. You should definitely follow them. Ref 1091. This was approved. I know Jay was excited on Twitter about this one. This was for 39,000 USDT for the Dots magazine's second proposal. They did a nice Chad altered version of some people in the ecosystem 2 days ago. Then we've got Roster, Ref 1076. This was approved, and it's for 8.3 thousand DOT for Pluto Wallet first proposal, which includes account abstraction, NFT support, and a transaction analyzer. Those were all medium spenders. There's quite a few of those. Then we're on to the Big Tipper, which is by The White Rabbit. This is Ref 1112. This was rejected, and it was for 888 DOT for his investigative work and communication initiatives. And finally, we've got Art Amendi, Ref 1124. This was approved, and it was for 250 DOT for their work on the NFT portal update. And that was Ref gone by.
Yeah, that's
there was some parity Tipbot stuff as well, but we're not including those.
Yes. This last one you mentioned, this NFT portal update, this is kind of cool. So this is like a kind of a little portal that Parity created, but then abandoned, and then somebody just picked it up and brushed it up to date, or is planning to brush it up to date, I believe. And this series, DocBog, Perpetual Futures Exchange you talked about, this was actually in confirmation, but got kicked out and didn't make it in the end there. So yeah, that's great. Thanks very much, Limo, for the ref gone by this week. We're going to roll right into the discussions now. In the State of the Treasury, we did talk about how we have 10.3, almost 10.4 million in stables, and we have the folks at Centrifuge back wanting to turn just shy of a third, maybe, what is that, 28% or something of that, into T-bills in their T-bill RWA pool to get some yield off that. Guys, welcome back to the show. You're at 62.2% right now, and about a week into the discussion. What do you want to come back and tell us this week?
Hey, just wanted to give a brief overview again, and then just kind of go over some frequently asked questions that people have been asking, and then again, kind of answer any questions here that people may have.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm Grayson from Centrifuge, and Yvonne, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Ivan from Centrifuge. I'm government facilitator at Centrifuge.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But yeah, just a brief overview of the ref. It's been up for about a week, and then about a month before that, we had the discussion up. Centrifuge was founded in 2017. Launched on Substrate in 2021 as the 9th parachain, I believe. Centrifuge is an RWA protocol working on tokenizing different assets, asset agnostic, jurisdiction agnostic, really here to merge the worlds of DeFi and TradFi. This proposal is to take 3 million USDC, currently sitting idle in the Treasury, and begin earning yield on that. Earning yield on those stable coins through RWAs, really to earn yield for the community, earn yield to weather adverse conditions, meet ongoing spends, grow the market size for RWAs in the Polkadot ecosystem, be a part of that large narrative, and support a leading parachain as it looks to expand its presence on Polkadot. So I guess I can go into kind of how this is being done. We're going to be using the Polkadot Community Foundation, which was set up to execute on real-world initiatives like this by governance. The foundation does exactly and only what governance says, nothing less, nothing more. It can execute on real world initiatives. So yeah, I think that's a really unique part of this proposal, is that this will be the first time I believe that the Polkadot Community Foundation will be used, as it was just set up this July. The rough yield right now, yields are over 5%, so call it 5.5. But they'll likely over the next 12 months be more in the range of high fours on average, as the Fed drops rates over the upcoming year. Somebody raised their hand.
Yeah, Batman, you want to ask a question?
Yeah. Hey, Grayson, thanks for explaining that. Initially, I for some reason, I just assumed, like looking at the title, that it was going to be something like an incentivization of the yield that that people earn by providing liquidity on centrifuge, I guess. But like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks to me what you're suggesting is a form of treasury diversification. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't so much call it diversification, as the DAO already owns stablecoins. This is just earning yield on the stablecoins. But yes.
Yeah, but like the reason why I call it diversification is that those stable coins are being invested in a different asset class, aren't they?
Yes.
Like, yeah. So that's primarily the reason why I call it diversification. But yeah, I think that clarifies things a lot. Thanks.
Okay, you want to continue your frequently asked questions, Grayson?
Yeah. I'll just go over a few that have been brought up a couple times. The first easy one is, are you requesting DOT? The answer is no. This is just stablecoins for the time being. What if funds need to be returned to the DAO? How can we return those funds? What if we want to fund another proposal? The answer is quite simple. It just requires instructions to the foundation through governance to say either return these funds to the DAO or return them to another wallet, because that wallet just passed some initiative, and we want the allocation to be directed there instead. So once a ref passes to withdraw the funds, that only takes about a single business day for the foundation to execute on that.
I got a question, Grayson.
Yep.
Does the 3 million need to be returned in bulk, or can a piece be returned? Okay.
Yeah, no, it can be returned in I believe any amount, as little as $1. So
Okay.
in bulk, or yeah.
Cool. Sorry.
Another common question is, have you been in contact with the foundation and working with them? The answer is yes. From day one, we've worked with them to make sure the discussion aligned with what they can do and what they can't do. We've been in contact with Autonomous Projects, who is the administrator of the foundation and the one that originally set it up, and the one that brought the ref live to the forum.
Mm-hmm.
Another common question has been, are there any extra fees associated for using the foundation? The answer is no. The foundation's already been paid for by governance. This is their job, is to execute on things that governance tells them, and this is just that. So there are no incremental cost for the foundation to execute this. And then I guess the last question is, what are the no legal costs? Those have already been, as I see someone mentioned in the chat, are the legal costs? No, those have already been paid by the previously to set up the foundation. I guess the last question is, what are the risks for the underlying assets, or what are the risks for the stablecoins we're deploying? The underlying fund is a BVI, British Virgin Islands segregated portfolio within a fund. It's regulated by the BVI Financial Services Commission. Any holders of the fund, i.e. the Polkadot Community Foundation in this case, have full recourse and rights to all the underlying assets. So the real risk lies in the US government defaulting on their debts, which we all know they will just rather inflate it away if they need to. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But yes. Any other questions?
Thank you very much. Yes, do we have any more questions, or any questions in the chat? If not, that's okay. Yes, a question.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I
no,
can
go
add
ahead,
some
yeah.
information about the security. So I would like to tell that in July, we passed the spare bit security audit. Right now, we have Cantina competition with $100,000 to $25,000. So we do care definitely about the security. One of the most asked question was about the duration of assets. So Animo is handling the assets from 0 up to 5 months. So we not exceed 6 months duration. And we also host the flagship RWA Asset Summit in New York. So for Polkadot communities could be also some sort of marketing.
Okay, yes, Christoph.
Yeah, I just want to add that I think it's very important that the proposal gets supported because it can be a very successful project going forward, and I think it sends a great message to the market that Polkadot itself or the open government, the treasury puts money into it. So I think that's a debate. The treasury should be used for investing, and that's true. But on the other hand, I think it should help the parachains, and this is a great Kickstarter for it. And I think hopefully it kicks off and shows a lot of other USDC holders that this is a great initiative.
Awesome. Nice words of support. All right, well, I think we'll end it there, guys. Thanks for coming back and clearing up those FAQs. Let's just take a quick look at the chart here, because I think you had a bit of a, it was cruising around 100% altitude, and then boom, you had a big nay come in over the weekend. But looks like you're gaining ground again, and yeah, we'll have to see how this is going next week, guys. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and if you're one of the 2.1 thousand people tuning in on the Polkadot account, I want to welcome you here. This is where we attempt governance, and we are moving on to our next ref. This is number 1123, Inc. Alliance for a More Successful Plaza. Peter, is this you?
Yes, this is me.
Okay, welcome to the show. Right now, I mean, we're just getting rolling here. 10 million votes in play, 42% in favor so far. Welcome to the show. What do you want to tell us?
Yeah, I feel special going number 2. Usually it's a little further down. But yeah, thanks for having me as usual. And no official slide deck today, but basically I just kind of want to talk about Inc. Go over again why is Inc. important for Polkadot? Talk some about what the proposal is doing, what the alliance is doing, and then open it up, get some questions, address some concerns, and just kind of answer things there. You know, I saw the Lucky Friday, they did nay. So Funky, if you've got any concerns you want to share, I'd love to answer them here. But just to reiterate from a couple weeks ago, basically Inc. is the native smart contract language for Polkadot. It was the first kind of smart contract language built under parity, and it's all built in Rust. Now, the reason I kind of hammered down on Rust so much is Rust isn't just a Web3 native language. Rust is a language that has been around for years and is developed and advanced by lots of really big companies, lots of developers. It's been the most admired language for 8 years in a row. And with lots of these things, it's a trusted language. It's a language that is trusted by enterprises. And personally, I think that's one of the main things that Polkadot pushes for is let's get enterprises, let's get businesses in to be able to build real world use cases. Now, I've talked to teams like, for example, Aleph Zero, who have a thriving ecosystem around Inc. And people have said, look, enterprises like building with Inc. because it is Rust. They trust it, right? Because it's Rust. And for example, Parity trusts Rust so much that they built the entire Polkadot stack in Rust. And personally, I think this was the right choice because I like Rust a lot. The reason I'm even in Polkadot or found Polkadot is because I got to write stuff in Rust. Now, of course, I stayed for much more than just Rust, but it's a language that can be trusted and it's mature. So although Inc. has been around for maybe 6 years, it's built on top of a language that has been around for much, much longer. Now, one of the things that we keep getting is, well, doesn't the Polka VM make Inc. obsolete? And I say, no, it's the opposite. it makes it maybe more necessary to have ink, because with PokeVM, it's just an instruction set, but something has to give that instructions to run software. So ink was actually the first smart contract language to actually compile to an earlier version of PokeVM. Now, this is really one of the main things the proposal will focus on is, well, Parity has now increased and advanced PokeVM, so we need to fund core developers to now make ink compatible with it. It's not a lot of changes because, like I said, it already compiled to an earlier version, but now we just need to update it so that it can compile and then work with Plaza. Yeah, so that's kind of what, and there's two things there. It's actually PokeVM right now only has basically two smart contract languages that support it. Recently, Parity started making Solidity compiled to PokeVM, and then there's Ink. So those are the kind of the two smart contract languages that can be deployed on Plaza as of now. So by having both of these, we can cater to and diversify the developer audience. So first, we can focus on the Solidity Web3 native developers, which is all of Web3 has about 30,000, while Rust has about 4 million. I saw a post a few days ago by Arbitrum, actually, and they are now building a Rust-based language too. And they're like, look, we can now cater to 15 million developers if you include C and C++. Funny enough, though, I've heard people say that Ink is much more mature than a lot of these other Rust-based smart contract languages. And these are from people smarter than me, people that have used these other languages, and they've also used Ink. So Ink is something that is mature and it is ready, which is one of the things that, because of this, it's one of the things that Alliance is really wanting to focus on as well. Let's try to increase the traction for Ink, and we don't need to spend so much time on the technology. Of course, we do need to spend time on the technology, but we can also focus a lot on, let's try to get some traction.
Yeah.
And from talking to people, talking to developers, talking to people that have used Ink, like Alex Zero, a lot of them say, like, look, education is usually the best way to go. So for example, with Solidity, we've got Patrick Collins, who's got these courses that I think I heard somebody say that 20% of all Solidity developers have watched. Even in the Web2 world, Ruby on Rails, the founder of that was like, look, one of the best things as a traction channel for Ruby on Rails was just a blog post saying, here's how to use it and here's why it's important. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the route we want to take with this, is let's just put out a lot of content around education. Let's show people why Ink is important and what are the cool things it can do on Polkadot. Yeah. Now, one more thing is, okay, another question and comment people say, like, Ink doesn't have traction, so we shouldn't necessarily support it. But it doesn't have traction in Polkadot. Because Polkadot hasn't had the proper support for smart contracts yet. Some people would say Polkadot doesn't have full traction yet either. And this is why things like Plaza is so exciting, because we finally get the support for smart contracts. Now, I say Polkadot, Ink doesn't have traction in Polkadot, but Aleph Zero, not a Polkadot chain, but it's built on Substrate, they've actually built a thriving ecosystem around Ink. So it shows it can work with the right support. Now, I mean, that's kind of just the main things. I'm already at, 6 minutes there. So yeah, let's open it up to questions, get some concerns. Let me address those concerns. Here.
Okay, we'll throw it to Natalie. Welcome, Natalie.
Hi. No, you can, do you want to start?
No, please go.
Okay. I wanted to ask, so you said that currently it's Ink and Solidity being supported. What happens if Rust is supported in the future? Would Ink still have, let's say, a place or value prop for coders that is different to just running Rust and Solidity? I mean, it's another animal.
Yeah, hey Natalie, it's good to see you again. So I can't speak on the future of Jam, because I know Gavin Wood said, like, for core play, Ink could be useful because it's already a Rust-based domain-specific language that could be useful, but it is speculation. We need to wait and see how things play out. What I can speak on is right now, with the current way that smart contracts can be deployed on Polkadot and Substrate, it requires that it interacts with this API. this API exposed to build smart contracts. And that's all that Ink is. Ink is Rust with an interface and things to help build smart contracts connected to this API. So it makes it easy to do things like, okay, here's how the storage is laid out. Here's how I can emit events in this. And that's what Ink is. It's Rust built with things for smart contracts. So somebody could build another Rust version of it, but at the end of the day, it's going to probably see some similar things to what Ink already has.
So you kind of were speaking about creating content, and you're asking for 520,000 USDC here. What slice of that is for this content strategy, and can you talk about what the rest of the pie is for?
Yes. So let me pull it up. So we did it budget based.
Okay.
Basically, so for the development, this proposal right now is for 6 months of the Ink Alliance. And basically, we estimate about 260,000 towards development. This is, all right, SR Labs is auditing Ink 5. Let's go ahead. We need to fix those things. We need to continue maintaining Ink because at the end of the day, you have to maintain software. Feature completing PVM, updating the necessary tooling, continuing to improve website documentation, and things like that. And then in terms of the traction and marketing, in terms of tutorial development, social media work, design work, attending hackathons, things like that, we've estimated about 130,000. And then there's kind of the miscellaneous things which are hard to estimate. So as we go along, we may adjust these budgets, but the community support is about 65,000. This is just to ensure that we continue to have people moderating chat rooms, answering questions on Stack Exchange, just providing the support to parachain teams, to builders, things like that. And then the operation, project management, things like that is also the last piece.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Peter while we have him?
I guess Funky, somebody that's in the Lucky Friday. Are there any concerns that Lucky Friday is seeing?
25 seconds.
I mean, none specifically. I can only speak for myself, obviously not the rest of the team, but I mean, largely, I think the biggest thing that we're hung up on, broadly was just the lack of adoption, things that you already spoke to. So, this is good to have this kind of, additional detail, and I'm certainly something that I'll bring up on our next Open Gov call next Wednesday.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks very much, Peter. We'd be happy to see you again while we continue this discussion here. Obviously, the fate of Ink and the ecosystem is an important discussion because we've dedicated so many resources to it. A bunch of people love it, but let's see what we can do to get some traction.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me again. As usual, you guys can feel free to message me. I'll drop my Telegram in the chat. And thanks so much for having me.
Thanks again. All right, moving on to Connor Daly, Polkadot Motorsports program with our global ambassador. 1.65 million DOT for this. And when we had you guys on last week, a bomb was dropped with the VBrick systems there. And I think a lot of people got excited about that. I think you brought another guest this week. I don't know. I'm going to throw it over to you guys and do what you want with this time.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I'm in my car once again, stopped at a truck stop because I'm going to yet another race. So have to do this where we do it. We had a great weekend last weekend too. That was really all started by our Polkadot Indy 500 effort because another team then wanted me to drive their Indy car. So sadly, we didn't get on the podium with the Polkadot colors, but that's the goal for the future. So,
congratulations on that third place finish. It was epic.
It was it was really one of the coolest moments that we've had in a long time. So anyway, we brought hopefully everyone enjoyed last week and learning about what Paul has to bring to the table with VBrick. I think until you at first, I don't know if it got the response that really I think it deserved because again, it's pretty cool. So I'm glad everyone read into it and kind of understood a little bit more about how big this is for just the whole program in general. So very, very excited about that. I'm actually driving for Paul this weekend and with his race team. So we'll be with him. But we brought Brett DeBoard, who works with the Dry Rheinbull racing team, who was our Indy 500 race team this year. And he's going to explain a little bit about what integration that they've been working on. And again, this is more than what we are continuing to try to just at least present to people what other work we are doing aside from making it look cool and and going really fast. So Brett, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for having me, Connor. Appreciate it. Good luck this weekend. Thanks for being so welcoming of our relationship and partnership over the years, or over the last year and a half, I should say. Special thanks to Connor, Andrew, and Chris as well for their leadership under this program. It's been a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to represent Polkadot up to this point. We are since the Indy 500 and Connor's performance there. That's really been a springboard and a platform for us to grow the relationship and grow our race team as a result of their efforts and the relationship with Dot. Since that day, we've been getting to work and day in and day out to evaluate, identify, and execute on business-to-business relationships with Polkadot as being kind of the central part of that. Our team has been in business for 25 years. We've qualified successfully 50 entries at the Indy 500. I have to say that this relationship and Connor's relationship with us has been at the very top in our experience over that period of time. Our holding company, we have a holding company and a group of companies that we own and control. Inclusive of those companies, we own car dealerships in the US. We own the race team. And then we also have a venture capital and private equity arm to what we do. And we're increasingly spending more and more time in the VC space. It's not very confidential, but we have, a lot of resources under management at this point. Part of that strategy is to deliver to our sponsor partners at the race team, Polkadot included. The VC business that we have really is going to, on a sustainable and continuous basis, provide opportunity. A couple of those opportunities include tomorrow, we're going to announce a 3-year, multi-year relationship with a global car manufacturer. There has been a detailed discussion through Andrew and myself about how to use and employ your technology and your capabilities with that OEM immediately. We have to announce that as a first step, but once we get through tomorrow and officially it's public knowledge and public record, starting Monday morning, we're going to hit the ground running on all of these business-to-business opportunities. And the first one is Polkadot. And through Chris's technical expertise and Andrew and Connor, we're going to go through that process, immediately. The second business-to-business opportunity that we have and we've been working on and evaluating is creating a custom data room for our race team. We are in the business of, harboring and creating data that makes us go fast on track. So from an authenticity standpoint, using your technology and using the capabilities and things that you can provide us is going to make us go faster and win the Indy 500 next year with Connor Daly. Connor, just real quick, Connor is one of the very few people walking the planet that can win that race. And we have to support him. We have to support Chris, and we have to support Andrew to go and all of you to deliver on that. But also off track, we have thousands of sensors on this race car. We have millions of pieces of data that we have to interpret, analyze, and then apply to the race car to go fast. And that goes from our tire vendor to our engine supplier to all of our engineering staff at the track and our race shop and our headquarters. So using your technology, we want to create a private blockchain supported data room that is going to support what we do at the track and keep that information proprietary and confidential. And we have decades of data at stake. We have decades of data that we utilize to make the car go faster around the track. So I can't think of a more authentic relationship in my 25 years of doing this, of using you guys as a partner, a true partner, to make us enable us to go win races. And so we have those two main opportunities right now. I believe there's 10 others that we can continue to work on through Andrew and Connor and Chris that we want to obviously win on the track, but also off the track for our partners. And the last point I want to make is, yeah, we're a race team, right? That's kind of how we're defined in the marketplace and in our industry. but we're really in the business development and marketing business and providing solutions to our partners. We just so happen that the consumer sees us race cars around a track, but day in and day out, day to day, we're really an organization focused on delivering value proposition to our partners and all of our sponsors. And then obviously connecting dots meanwhile with the dealerships and everything else we have going on from a core business standpoint. So I want that to be abundantly clear to everybody here that, yeah, we may go race at the Indy 500, which is the single largest sporting event in the world. It's been around for 100 plus years, but we're in the business of providing solutions to our partners. So I really appreciate the time to connect with you all. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Super. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks very much, Brad. So just to clear this up, on the deal we did previously, Polkadot was a sponsor. Brett, your organization owns the race team itself, which has multiple sponsors. And what you just told us about is a 3-year deal with a to be announced OEM, which you believe you can inject Polkadot into and our technology stack into. And then you also spoke about, I guess, kind of like a DPIN data authentication play with Polkadot as well to increase the success of your race team. Is that all? Is that a good summary?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and just a quick, to clean up the data kind of login, specialized confidential data room that we'd like to create with you guys. That is something that is going to be internal to our race team, but also external. So that's going to have a compounding effect and a growth part of it, that the more we do with you guys and the more we do with our other partners, the bigger that's going to become.
Okay, yeah. Chris, what do you have to say?
Yeah, just to say a good example of what you were talking about with Brett too is like kind of what Polymath does with their data. Like when you log in and once you connect your wallet and everything else, you can authenticate, which gives you access to their data room. So it's kind of the same concept there, just to help out a layer of security for the race team.
Sure. Okay, Funky?
Just wanted to chime in real quick because so far we are the only DV Lucky Friday that has voted aye on this prop. And the reason why has a lot to do with the fact that our co-founders here at Lucky Friday have been in the tech business for well over 25 years at Silvermine Capital. Rich thinks that this is particularly a good marketing spend. I know it's expensive. I know the price tag. Everybody's just looking at the number, but not necessarily thinking about the long-term impacts and the ramifications that this could lead to with the partnerships that would then grow and blossom out of this. So this is something I just wanted to at least speak to on behalf, as sort of the point person as our DV, because we're the DV that has only voted aye. I voted aye personally. And I just hope that some people really consider some of the long-term impacts, very positive impacts that this could have, especially something that I've harped on a lot is to grow our presence here in the United States, which is the biggest capital market in the world.
Okay, thanks for that, Funky. Yes, Angie.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I see a huge opportunity. We see a huge opportunity at Dot Play to tie together what these guys are doing with Mythical and NFL Rivals. It sounds like it doesn't really go together, but if you think about gaming and you look at racing as a category, about a quarter of gamers would claim that they play racing games. It's about a $2 billion market as of last year. It's grown about 10% a year. And these are particularly well suited for digital assets, because if you think about cars, parts, there's so many different aspects of this that are well suited to digital assets. And we have something coming up which is also interesting. Obviously, tomorrow is the kickoff of the NFL season. John Linden is in Kansas City because NFL Rivals is the official game of the Kansas City Chiefs. They've won the Super Bowl 3 of the last 5 years, which is the most valuable property in media in the United States. And then separately, Connor is racing in Kansas City 3 weeks later, and in Polkadot, and we're going to tie these together. So we can really build synergies here across these two verticals that kind of come together in gaming.
Yes, it's beautiful. So we're at time there. I will say, I hope we can work this out. Obviously, timing is everything. A lot of people see 7.5% of the treasury at this time, and there's questions about that. But I think there's probably a path forward here. We're only a day into the decision period, so lots of time to negotiate a path forward. But I hope we can do it. I know we can do it, and I want to thank the team for coming back on the show and sharing more epic news. We'll try to get this out quickly so people can get buzzing about it. Thanks very much, guys, for coming back on.
Yeah, thank you guys. We appreciate it as always.
Super stuff. Okay, we're gonna move on now to Natalie. You posted this proposal, B2B marketing and sales enablement for the Polkadot ecosystem. We are 7 days, 7 hours remaining in the decision period, and 77.6% in favor. What's going on? What do you want to come back on the show and tell us about?
Yes.
First of all,
Yes, I
thanks
do
for-
wanna.
Yeah. Yeah, is it okay if I share my screen?
Of course.
Give me a second. All right. Hi, friends. So I'll get straight to the point. We're pitching a project that aims to bring more B2B customers into our ecosystem. And with B2B customers, that can be any type of company, a startup, a mid-cap, or a large enterprise. And we've done a lot of research ahead of drafting this proposal, and we recognize that times are changing. The Web3 space is evolving into a much mature state, and there's a lot of new audiences coming in who are different and more diverse than the crypto OGs from 10 years, 5 years, even 1 or 2 years ago. But these new audiences, whether they are institutional investors, non-tech talent like myself, regulatory bodies, or as in the case of this project, companies that are considering the adoption of blockchain technology, they all need to be targeted in a different way, in a very different way. And that's for one main reason, which is that there's not going to be any one-size-fits-all solution any longer. We went into great detail sharing more background information on this and also explaining how we are planning to deliver a successful project at an AAG. I think that was 2 weeks ago. So for those of you who've missed that presentation, we encourage you to go back and have a look. We'll share a link to the video here in the chat. And that presentation, by the way, was very process and KPI focused. So today I would want to keep it a bit more casual and do a Q&A session instead. But before we jump in, just very quickly, we wanted to take a moment to thank all the delegates that have voted A on our proposal so far. We've received really, really great feedback over the past weeks, and we just want to say that we really appreciate your trust and support. And it's especially great to see that many others in the ecosystem share the same vision. And we absolutely can't wait to kick this off and deliver first results. And for those of you, delegate or not, who haven't voted yet, we're less than 2 days away from entering the confirmation period. So if there's anything you need from us to cast a positive and confident vote, please do reach out to us. We're here to answer any questions you have. All right, Q&As. Here's some really good questions that we received over the past few days. But before we start with these, are there any other questions from the audience? Because if yes, we would be happy to start with those. And otherwise, I would just hand it over to Natalie in just a moment to kick us off with question number 1. But maybe let's wait a few seconds to see if anything else comes in. All right, Natalie.
Cool. I will, yes, I'll start answering the first question because I think that is one that we received a lot and is also probably one of the most important questions out there. And it's also one of the reasons why we started working on this proposal. So one of the main problems we identified was the and that isn't just for Polkadot. I think that is the case for many, I would say, young DAOs or like DAOs that are just starting to structure and coordinate themselves, is the lack of cohesion and coordination. And we are trying to make things differently. So firstly, from the very beginning, even before we started working on the proposal, we want to make sure that what we are creating and proposing is of real value to Polkadot. So from the very early stages on, we talked to everyone basically who wanted to talk to us and who's somehow involved in marketing, BD, or governance for Polkadot. So the list of people we talked to even before putting the proposal online is really long. Basically, all the delegates who wanted to speak to us, all the teams that have something to do with BD and marketing. So that's Poke, the BD team at Parity, the newly formed BD teams around the head ambassadors, Block Deep, Culture Dot, and many others. And we jumped on calls, we met them in person during ECC, Decoded, Web3 Summit, and iterated on the proposal. So I hope that this already shows and not only tells that we take action and want to create something of value for others. Then also secondly, throughout the proposal, we want to make sure that we stay in touch and are always in close contact with the teams who will benefit from our work. And we already have many applicants who want to be our first kind of pilot team. I think that is also a good sign. Thirdly, in the last phase of our proposal, there's also this deliverable called documentation training and onboarding, where we want to make sure that the teams we work with and for have all the information needed to implement our work, and that our work is not only delivered at the end, but also understood and adopted. And I think and lastly, maybe last point, it's something I personally feel very passionate about, is the kind of the fragmentation, or trying to minimize fragmentation. You might have heard me say this before, but I think especially when we are moving towards decentralization, kind of creating yet another place, another resource hub, another domain, will just lead to more and more material being lost somewhere. And we are planning to integrate the materials that we are providing, like the narratives, value props, messaging for the enterprise segment, to places that already exist, like Distractive's resource hub. So yeah, hopefully that for the first question, I'm looking at the time, but hopefully for the first question that already gave some insight that we not only that we mean what we say when we say we want to create something of value.
Yeah, thanks, Natalie. And as you said, looking at the time, we have about 3 minutes left. By the way, we have prepared a Google Doc with detailed answers to these 3 questions, as well as a handful of other questions too that we received over time. We'll share that link in the chat too. So make sure you check those out as well if you're interested. And in the interest of time, I guess with that, once again, thank you so much for having us. And if there are any other questions you want to discuss now, please raise your hand.
Any questions? No, I mean, it's looking pretty good, guys. It looks like you're going to be entering the confirmation period. In what is this? 1 day, 14 hours. And then we endure a 4-day confirmation period. The voting is a little bit light right now, right? We're at, what is this, 34, almost 35 million votes. So I guess it could go either way. But looking good so far.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
So yeah, reach out to us if you have any questions, or if anyone hasn't voted before and still has open questions, please do.
All right, guys, thanks very much for coming on. All right, up next we have a big one here, 1.96 million USDC. This is for the Polkadot Blockchain Academy, PBA X production and launch, as well as a new wave of in-person education. Tim, welcome to the show. Do you have anybody else with you here today?
Yeah, we have Pauline and Nicholas. I'm not supposed to be talking. Pauline.
Okay. Hey, Pauline, welcome back. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Jay.
Hi,
everyone.
I heard they held it down pretty well in the last PBA without you, but you were definitely missed.
Thank you very much. I heard it was pretty good. I'm not so needed anymore.
Okay, what do you want to share with us today?
So I'm very happy to be here. As many of you know, the PBA is not a new project. We know most of you. You've been guests at the PBA, faculty at the PBA, guest lecturers, or even I've seen a bunch of alumni also on this call. So very happy to be with this friendly crowd. But I wanted to have a chance to connect because this proposal is for us by far the most ambitious proposal of the PBA. We're basically requesting for more or less the budget that we've had requested in the past for one in-person wave of students. taking between 75 to 100 students has been our usual intake, and training aspiring blockchain and hopefully Polkadot developer. With this budget, we're actually asking the community to support us for 6 months of activities and not just one month of a wave. So 6 months of activities and 5 projects. This is definitely in terms of scope, in terms of commitment, in terms also of impact for the community, our most ambitious proposal so far. Not only repeating and hopefully trending still on excellence and producing excellent devs and founders to come enrich the Polkadot ecosystem, but also opening the pyramid and going beyond this gold product of the in-person wave, where students come on site and hear from the best projects, hear from Gav also, and interact with all of you and create this network. But this is a very exclusive and cost-intensive program to bring all those genius folks together. We want to expand the pyramid and be much more accessible. And that's why we're also committing to developing a program that will be available for thousands, not counting on them for a few hundreds to come on site together and have this crazy intensive experience, but also just having this online product that is much more affordable and accessible in terms of location, obviously, in terms of speed of learning and in terms of level. So opening the pyramid with going from a selective and elitist program for a couple of hundred to a program of 1,000. But not only that, it's not just adding another course and opening new content. We also heard the community, and we heard that it's great to be training and producing core developers, but that the community also needed more versatile developers. And so we're launching for the first time a dApps track. And I know it's way long overdue. We've heard it for the last almost a year, but we're so excited to bring that on. So we'll have an on-chain core developer track, but also an off-chain dApps track. And I'm so excited to have Angie here on call because I see lots of connection with .play. Of course, if you have any connection, our dApps master is Nikos, who is also on the call. Really excited about opening a lot of new collaboration with the ecosystem. But we're also not, besides opening tracks, we also want to push our comfort zone a little bit and go work with established institutions and start actually opening access to the academy. As you know, all of the academic content has always been open source. We share our slides, we have a book on GitHub, but we want to go even more. And we want to help other institutions train and use the Polkadot content that we're developing for their learners, for their students. So we're starting a pilot of working with university institutions and helping them, giving them basically a Polkadot school in a box. This is going to be our first pilot. We're starting small, although with university stakeholders, things can take a long time. So it's not a small pilot for us, but we're committing to create relationship with 6 to 10 universities in the next 6 months and have our content being used by their students in their existing accredited program. This is obviously something that we think is crucial to put Polkadot forward to the next generation of developers. Imagine Polkadot being trained in all the CS program in any universities. So please also a call for action here. If you are connected with your alma mater, or if you think of a university that would be in tune with Polkadot, or is currently teaching blockchain, or is missing blockchain, please put us in touch. And 2 other projects that we're happy to be contributing in is one, obviously, creating not only a one-time experience with the PBA, but a lifelong learning cycle. So opening a training of lifelong learning for our alumni and for the broader community affiliated with the PBA, series of lectures and events. And also, as we've heard from our alumni, that they need help once they graduate to navigate the ecosystem and the range of content out there. And also, hopefully, turning our syllabus, so the supporting material of the PBA, into an actual book, a bit as a la Mastering Ethereum or Mastering Bitcoin that were created many years ago. It's really missing a Mastering Polkadot book. So bringing a lot of new initiatives, as said before, this is definitely something more ambitious for us, and having an open call here for partners to help us develop and roll out those different projects.
Okay, I had no idea. There's so much involved here. Big stuff. What do we think on the chat? Any questions or comments on what we just heard here? Yes, Batman?
Yeah, just a quick comment. So I was in the Singapore wave for PBA, like just a few months back.
Yeah.
And it's an intense program, right? Like I did not imagine, like when I was starting out, I did not imagine that it would be that intense, right? But it was really great. Like I got to learn like so much that I didn't know, right? And I think like the in-person program has already proven its value, but the one complaint that I had myself was that it wasn't available remote, which is why I think that this proposal is just great, right? Like PBX would be amazing, especially because for me personally, I had a lot of trouble paying attention in class just because I have ADD. So I used to skip some things here and there, and then I had to work really hard to catch up, right? But I think like PBX could definitely fix that. So from me, I guess, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, nice. Robert?
Hey, looks really good. I've got a question about the PBAX content, or like the cost of it. So my question here is like how much, because this is online content, so there should be like some of this content should remain over, I guess, a couple of spans of these, just based on like the past waves that you've done for the live content. Do you have an estimate of how much of the, because I mean, Polkadot will change a lot, especially with DAM. So not all this content can remain static, but like a lot of the cryptographic primitives, etc., that can remain the same. Do you have an estimate of how much of this cost will have to be towards PBX, will have to go towards generating new content for future iterations?
Thanks for this question. So the shelf life of our content really depends on the module. We have, and that's actually one aspect we considered when we're currently deciding which content is going to be part of PBAX, which part is going to stay for the in-person. And so the priority at the moment is to put the intro level content and the evergreen content in PBAX. So most of the intro content is actually cryptography, economics principle, and intro to blockchain, governance to some extent. And in all of those modules, we can, and actually all across our curriculum, also for SDK and moving forward, you have some intro lecture. You have either the full extent of the module, or at least some intro lecture that are going to stay the same. That are going to be, that's what we call evergreen content. And so hopefully those can be produced once, improved maybe in the future with some guest lecture, but the shelf life should be pretty big. The content that is the most evolving is often the most advanced content and the most recent content. It's not always the case, but it's trends pretty much. And this content will be reserved for the in-person interaction. So PBAX is not exactly replicating PBA in person and putting it online. It's a very different experience. And we've seen that the most advanced content needs the in-person support and the support of the faculty. So we are separating and putting the intro evergreen content that hopefully will not need too many updates, and keeping the content that needs an update between every wave. We've updated our curriculum between every wave because we need to trend after Polkadot's updates, and keeping those for in-person, which should reduce the costs.
Okay, we see a lot of hands up, but we are out of time here, so we're going to have to get you guys to come back on the show next week to discuss it a little further. But nice to have you on, and thanks very much for being here. I got a quick question, though, Tommy. Maybe you could help me out with this. We have 1.96 million USDC possibly going out here, another 3 million possibly going out with the T-bills thing. We only have, what, let's take a look here. We only have 5.6 million USDC in the treasury. What happens here if we exhaust the pile, but people are making requests?
Yeah, I was just thinking the same. First one wins. And if you cannot pay out, then basically the execution will fail, even though it's accepted. So I was just thinking about your recent tweet of accelerate stablecoin acquisition, which is, I think,
it's underway.
It's a thing that is needed right now.
Yeah, I think
It's not
that.
like we've been saying it for like 4 months now, right?
What's that?
It's not like we've been saying that for like 4 months already.
How can we predict the future like this so consistently, Limo? It's kind of crazy.
It's a nightmare. It's a curse, actually.
It is a curse, I know. We do have ref 1104 on the root track. This is Joe coming in to convert part of the DOT assets to stablecoins. This is passing 99.8% in favor. But because it's root track, it's not going to start confirming for 10 days. And then how many days of confirmation will we have there, Lee?
Root is a day, I think.
Just a day?
I think so. I can double check. It might be 48 hours, maybe.
Okay, so we're gonna start firing hot clips of DOT through the DCA in possibly as little as 11 or 12 days. And let's see, how much is it per day? So yeah, the interesting one about this one.
Day.
What's that?
It's 1 day for the confirmation.
Okay. And the interesting thing about this DCA is that it's a regular clip of DOT rather than acquiring a regular clip of stables. So I'm trying to figure out how much DOT is going in per day here. It's going to trade every 20 blocks, 20 DOT every 20 blocks. Oh, so 7,200 DOT per day is what it's going to do. 7,200 per day times $4 a DOT. So it's going to be doing 14,400 USDC per day, and then the same USDT per day. Well, I don't know what we're going to do about that. It's going to be tricky. Yeah, Robert?
Just quickly, Jonas from Web3 wrote to me, he can jump on the call if he realizes, because it pertains to this question, like his 3 staking proposals for the wishes for change.
Yeah.
Shall we do that maybe we can do that at the end of the call if he can jump on, or next week?
I mean, we did spend about 10 minutes covering it at the beginning of the call, but maybe we can have him on next week, and then we can dive into it further.
Sense.
Once we have more votes too. But please bring him on the call. I mean, it's always nice to have him. Okay, let's push on here with a ref that is hanging in the balance. This is Polkadot at Slush 2024, and what do we have here? 1 day, 20 hours remaining of the decision period, sitting 40.6% in favor, short about 14 million DOT on the votes. Who do we have? We have Tommy on the call. Caitlin
And
on the
me as
call.
well.
Hi, how's it going?
Yes.
What's going on here?
Yes. Well, first of all, hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone calling in. Today, I will be presenting the marketing plan for the Polkadot Slush proposal in these final days. So as you mentioned, there's only 2 days left until voting closes, and we would love for you to take a moment today to cast your vote for aye and help bring this good opportunity to reality. So obviously in these final days, your support makes a big difference. I'm going to ask my colleague Tommy to share the slides. So just one moment, waiting on that.
Can you see?
Yep, it's loading. Perfect. Can we go to slide 2? Okay, great. Just a brief intro on my end. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Caitlin Nykum, and I'm based in Berlin. And as the marketing lead for this proposal, I bring a decade of marketing experience helping companies, brands, and teams achieve visibility with their desired target audiences, which is exactly what we're trying to do here with the Polkadot at Slush proposal. In this case, my marketing work will support Polkadot in gaining strong brand exposure in the entrepreneur investor networks outside of the blockchain circles in order to attract startup founders and investors who would benefit from getting to know Polkadot and the offerings, especially from this event known as the most founder-focused event on Earth. Just a quick background, I served previously as the marketing lead for the Sovereign Nature Initiative for a couple of years, helping launch the successful Sub-Zero Biodiversity Collection at Sub-Zero last year, and Moon Sama's Wild Sama collection earlier this year. So I'm pretty familiar with the Polkadot ecosystem through those projects. We can go over to slide 3, please. Great, thank you. In case you have not seen this update, Tommy, who's sharing slides right now, this proposal's project lead, he has decided to waive his slush 2024 preparation and design fee. And instead, he's offering that this 10,000 euro equivalent fee can be used for next year's team to prepare for slush 2025. And if there's no proposal submitted by June next year, this amount will be returned to the Treasury. And please keep this in mind in the final days of voting. Perhaps it makes a difference for your vote. And I'm sure Tommy will be happy to answer questions following. So as my presentation time is limited today, I'll provide a brief overview of our marketing plan for this proposal, of course, which will be supported by Distractive. We are already in touch with Elizabeth and working together with her on this. The Polkadot at Slush marketing plan includes digital marketing on Polkadot's channels to target investors and startups outside of blockchain to encourage side event registrations, as well as social media mentions. Social media promotion to raise awareness about Polkadot's presence and side events, again, to encourage side event registration and increase Polkadot brand awareness. Social media promotions, this includes sharing ambassadors who are attending our networking teams and their experiences during the conference to increase their networking opportunities held during the conference. A press release to publicly link Polkadot and Slush together as partners. This will be repurposed across social media and different posts across Polkadot channels, Slush channels, etc. Event photography and videography to create high quality marketing materials that will boost Polkadot's presence at Slush and at following future conferences. These materials can be seen as an investment, as a way to promote Polkadot at future events. Of course, brochures and roll-up banners to visually showcase Polkadot at our side events. Polkadot gear for the ambassadors to represent Polkadot when networking with these founders and investors we hope to attract, as well as a comprehensive post-event recap, photos, and video to be shared with the Polkadot community following this event in order to spread awareness about this successful project's outcomes. So we'll go to the next slide. And everything that I've mentioned now, it will be supported by Slush itself, the conference organizers and their channels, who will list Polkadot as an event partner, share our side events on their website and social media channels, as well as provide us access to their matchmaking tool in order to book one-to-one meetings with investors and founders throughout the event. And the next slide. And just as a friendly reminder, this is the support team. Tommy and I are here tonight, but you've seen some presentations from Patricia in last week's AAG, so I definitely recommend checking that out if you're interested in learning more about this proposal and still need to cast your vote. Next slide. Yes, so this is our call to action. So in these final days, help us to help the ecosystem teams. Obviously, the objectives of this proposal, if you've seen it, if you're familiar with it, is to attract new investors and founders that are not yet part of the Web3 community, specifically to Polkadot, as well as secure 100 high potential and qualified leads, and showcase specific investment opportunities from the ecosystem. So leading up to this event, we will be reaching out to teams within the Polkadot sphere, asking them what their investment needs are and directly presenting these investment needs to these investors that we will be in touch with in person during Slush, assuming that this proposal passes. Next slide, please. And these are the networkers that we will bring with us to be contacting and meeting directly with these founders and investors that we hope to bring to Polkadot as a result. I think everyone attending these calls usually probably knows most of these people, but just as a friendly reminder, if not. Next slide. Okay, thank you. So obviously, we need your support in these final days to bring the goal, which is 100 high quality potential leads to Polkadot from the most founder-focused event on Earth. And this is a really unique opportunity that I think the Polkadot community should not let go to waste. Time is running out to vote, so we would appreciate your vote aye today. Thank you, and open to questions.
Thank you very much. Yes, you know, it's a tricky situation. Personally, you know, it's not the most perfect proposal. I know the events bounty rejected it, but honestly, at the end of the day, for this amount. I would rather have you guys there than not. That's just where I'm sitting. Of course, I don't have the 13 million dot votes actually to get you through here. But let's see what the other people are saying. Angie, you have a question.
You're muted.
Oh yeah, muted.
Sorry about that. I was just going to add a comment, which is that I'm going to be at Slush co-hosting an investor gaming event with a large studio, game studio, for a full day on the investor day. And in my view, strength begets strength. If we have, this deep in the trenches gaming event, and then we have these networkers out there networking, I think it could be more valuable than even a booth.
Yeah. This is not a booth,
I
right?
know it's a tricky one. I can tell by the look on your face, Jay. But I also think that sometimes we gotta go keep moving. We can't wait till next year.
I'm agreeing with you here. And this is not a booth. This is just for networkers. Right?
Yes, to clarify. Yep, we're taking a more hands-on approach when it comes to meeting people in person, face to face, not in a formal setting of a booth at a conference. In this case, to clarify.
Yeah. Thank you for your comment, Angie. Any other questions or comments here? Tommy.
Yeah, I just want to add to that there is a lot of synergy if we can go with .play, and we can actually combine the events and do a lot of cool things together if we can get the funding. But right now it looks pretty gloomy.
A little slushy. Okay. Anything else?
No, unless there's any other questions, thank you for your time. And yeah, we really hope that it works out for this good opportunity. And if there's any other Polkadot projects who want to be present at Slush, again, what Tommy said, we'd love to collaborate, strengthen each other. So thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you very much. Encouraging everybody to go check this out, Ref 1078. Of course, weigh the costs of doing nothing. Is that more than the 112,000 they're requesting? I'm not sure, but we'll definitely see this in Ref Gone By next week. Okay, we're going to move on now to one we had on last week. They presented a discussion, but haven't moved forward with the Ref quite yet. Still in the discussion phase, but they do have something new they want to tell us. This is the cross-community multi-chain NFT marketplace powered by Rarible X, white label NFT marketplace service. Guys, welcome back to the show. What do you want to come and tell us?
GM.
Hello.
I think. Hey, can you hear me? This is Jonas, and I think that Jose is joining here as well. Jose, are you on?
I'm here.
Welcome.
Sweet. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks for having us again. Really appreciate it. I think last week we had a really valuable conversation. Everybody shared some interesting input. And so we wanted to make sure that we came back again today and demonstrated that we've listened to the community. That's really at the heart of what we're trying to do here. We want to make sure that we're able to kind of create that comfort level that will allow us to move forward, which is why we haven't rushed to putting something up for voting. Instead, we want to make sure we continue discussing this to ensure that we're aligned. I've got a few slides that I want to go through. We'll go through it briefly, but it'll include some of the updates we've made to the proposal and some of the information that we want to follow up on based on the discussion last week. So I'll share my screen here, and hopefully everybody can see it shortly.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, sweet. So jumping in, just want to go ahead and recap what we ended up proposing last week versus what we're wanting to propose, given the feedback we've gotten so far. So originally the proposal really had an ask for 4.4 mil USD, really to build that all-encompassing one-stop shop for NFT drops and NFT trading across the substrate, Polkadot substrate ecosystem. And so after that feedback, what we've looked at is really breaking it up into two different phases. And so the first phase would be an ask of 1.8 mil. We're going to go into how that's going to be broken down. And the second phase is going to be an ask of 1.5 mil for a total of 3.3 million. The approach here that we really want to be emphasizing is that we want to make sure we're able to bring revenue back to the ecosystem. And this would be both for the substrate chains, but also the Polkadot treasury as a whole. And we want to make sure that we create a financially sustainable model for everybody involved. So going deeper into the breakdown here of the payments, really for the 1.8 mil, the way it's going to be really channeled is really to do that upfront work of not only integrating substrate, into the wearable protocol, but also building out that marketplace, which we're going to do front and back end. We're also going to maintain it on an ongoing basis and ensure that we deploy with strength. And we want to do that with the first 20 substrate chains. So down below, you'll see the breakdown. We're going to have a $300K upfront integration fee, and then the 1.5 is going to be representative of that addition of 20 chains. What I did want to clarify is that when you kind of average that out across the pricing, it is actually more favorable than what we normally charge for doing something like this for an EVM chain. So I did want to clarify that here. We're offering more favorable terms, which means that we want to speak to the strength of the community and the fact that by doing something like this together with the DAO, we are actually offering a better avenue to the full Polkadot ecosystem holistically. This includes something called a mid pack for 50K. We're going to elaborate on that in just a little bit. Was literally just getting a call here. We're going to elaborate that in just a bit. And really our approach with that is to provide revenue back to the ecosystem. And then next up, we have the 1.5 mil, which is really more of a pre-authorization. We're not asking for that to be paid out from the get-go, but it's a pre-authorization to add those additional 20 chains down the road, and below is a breakdown of how that's going to be distributed and so forth. So with that, I wanted to just kind of open it up to Jonas and have him share a little bit more about how we're going to be approaching this.
Right. So one thing that we really didn't touch on last week is how our customers use Rarible to generate revenue for themselves back to their communities or to their chains or to their ecosystem. And so kind of underlying this is this thesis is that there are three ways that when you have a marketplace running, you're generating revenue on an ongoing basis. One is kind of a standard platform mint fee that every mint, be it a free mint or be it a really expensive mint, it's a small amount that's charged for every mint, and that's $2 per platform fee, which has been very standard across all of the more than 30 or 40 marketplaces that we have already deployed. In addition to that, every asset that is minted on a marketplace could have a commission associated with it. We generally set that at 10% across all marketplaces. And then when they're sold on the secondary market, there's also a small commission associated with that, which is 20%. What we are proposing is that much of these fees will go back to the Polkadot ecosystem, either to the treasury or to the parachains. And we wanted to get some feedback on how the ecosystem would think about that. So at the end of the day, go ahead to the next slide, Jose. We think that there's, I'm going to skip kind of the details of the breakdown for a moment on the top there and kind of hit the highlight here, which is that in this phase one that we're proposing, which has a $1.8 million price tag associated with it, we think that if it were to be fully executed, there were 20 parachains that were live on this system. Each parachain did 50,000 mints. This would be accretive back to the ecosystem. It would generate over $2 million in return revenue back to the Polkadot ecosystem. That $2 million could be split between the treasury and the parachains themselves, or in whatever model the ecosystem thinks makes the most amount of sense. So that's kind of the highlight. Maybe do we have another slide here, Jose, or was that the wrap up? So that's kind of the wrap of it. So let me pause there and see, Jay, if you want to go into more details on this or what kind of questions it triggers.
Okay, thank you guys. It's nice to see a little piece of the revenue side there. We have some questions popping up. Tell me, I wanted to ask a question myself, if you don't mind, and then I'm going to throw it to you. Okay, so with this initial amount, 1.8 million, you are going to onboard 20 substrate chains, $90,000 per chain. Now, I want to ask the builders in the chat, because I want to make sure I understand this correctly. My concern is, like, I can't think of 20 chains that have NFTs right now, first of all. But then the other thing is that if I understand correctly the way the ecosystem works, most of them are using the same palette, or there's only a few palettes that need to be integrated. And then it's kind of more just changing a few little pieces to integrate this chain. So first, a question to the builders in the room. Did I say that correctly? Is that the way it is? Like, is this charging per chain situation? Is that really relevant in how this would go?
So I don't know if that question was to me, but just really quickly on the math that you just laid out there, there's of that 1.8 million, there's a 300K, which is really our cost to get those pallets configured and aligned within the Rarible SDK ecosystem, and then the other 1.5 million is to onboard and provide the revenue opportunity for the first 50,000 mints for each of those 20 chains. So if you take out that 300,000 per second and you just look at the 1.5 million, that's $75,000 per chain to onboard each of the parachains, essentially.
Yeah.
Of that 75,000, you could divide that into a $25,000 free to do the engineering work to onboard them, which is what we're talking about, and then
5,000 to onboard each chain. Okay.
That's right. And then the 50,000 represents the chain's right to sell 50,000 NFTs.
50,000 NFTs each chain for 20 chains.
Right. So they pay it. Right. They pay essentially that's like $1 each for the fee to sell that NFT, and then $2 returns back to the network for each of those NFTs that's sold. So we're essentially packaging up what we call
fee.
Yeah, we're packaging up a mint pack, what we call it. We charge you $50,000 for 50,000 mints, but then you get, if you're successful in doing 50,000 mints, then you get $2 for each of those that on a mint by mint basis to cover the costs of that mint pack. Plus generate revenue.
Thanks for the breakdown. Okay. And then what about the fact that like there aren't even close to 20 chains that are dealing with NFTs today?
I think that's a great feedback point for us. And if there was some mechanism for us to get a good scope of how many chains we think we would want to have in that initial package, we could consider that as part of the final proposal that we actually go forward with.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up. That was some good granularity. Tommy, we'll give it to you for the last ones here.
Jay, you took away about half of my questions.
I'm sorry, bro.
No worries. So I'm sorry to have to be so direct, but these numbers are a complete joke to me. So 75,000 per chain. I would like to see, like, with how many chains you have had a conversation about this and how many of them have an actual interest in having this integrated. Because for me, this doesn't really add up. I mean, it's like, okay, you could say maybe 300,000 for the pellets, but even that would be like pretty much. And I think we could get some PBA graduates to build some stuff. So you have an established marketplace and so on, so integration. So you have an established position in the market. But first of all, I would like to see some validation about is there an actual demand for that kind of integration, and maybe parachain teams coming out and saying that they have an actual interest. Have you talked with any chains?
I can chime in here. So we're actually, at the moment, we have a relationship with Moonbeam, and we've got a relationship with 11 as well, specifically the EVM L2. So we do have already, and we have had conversations with parachains in the ecosystem that are thinking seriously about NFTs and wanting to actively engage in that. What we are really, in kind of going back to the costs here, just wanted to confirm the onboarding and the integration per chain fee is actually 25,000. The 50K is more for the right to earn that $2 per mint platform fee, which we don't currently share with any partners at the moment. That mint fee currently is something that is 100% revenue to Rarible in our existing partnerships that we currently have.
Okay, we're gonna have to end it there just to be fair, because we're trying to keep it on time. But let's throw our feedback in the discussion post, which is available on the agenda. And yeah, it's a bit of an odd situation where maybe it's a good service, but like trying to push through this huge number up front is working against kind of how usually funds roll out of the treasury with new partners we're building relationships with. So there might be some rethinking there, but this is what discussion is all about. So thanks, guys, for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, we are now moving on to Chainalysis, and this is a really interesting situation, because in 2 hours and 45 minutes, this proposal will enter what we call sudden death. That's the end of the proper 28-day decision period, where any dip below the 50% mark will spell the end of this proposal. Now, it is sitting a little bit better than I thought it would. And this is due to the I power here. So there's 105.79 million dot votes on the I side here. In the original Chainalysis proposal, the nay side came out with 96.68 million dot. So the question is, have any of the nays flipped to ayes? Do we have any new nays? How much voting power does the nay side have that they may be sitting on, waiting for the sudden death period to start? But let's get going with Christian here. Christian, how are you feeling on this one today? Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jay, for having me here again. I'm happy to be with all of you guys in the community back. And yeah, as you said, I think it's about 60-40 kind of right now. We're entering into these decisive phase of the decisions, and I think I'd like to start by mentioning the Sightail digital post that was just put in the forum, which proposes an interesting summary of the advantages of the proposal and also raises some concerns, which I would like to address. So since I know there are some colleagues from Sightail on the call, I would like to ask them if they want to comment on it, because I think they really explain really well the value of the proposal. So,
okay.
Yeah, I guess that's going to be me as I'm on the call. So maybe give a little bit of history. We had a long conversation with the Chainalysis guys. And I started the conversation with them by saying it's the most hated proposal in the community. And they should do something to win over the community, because winning over the votes is one thing, but winning over the community is another thing. So and I think Polkadot is very much about the community, and keeping the community happy is very key. Nevertheless, we said we think that Polkadot needs to go the institutional route. And if you want to go down this route, Chainalysis is one way to go. If the price tag is too high, too low, whatever, I think that there was more money spent on other things, and we should try to see the results there. We got some very good insights from the guys, and I think it could go a super interesting direction. And we wrote a very long comment, which I encourage everyone to read. But what is more important, I think, is also that we said, look, you need to do educational webinars. You need to do events where you explain exactly explain the community why you think this is important. And I think this is going to happen, and hopefully we will see the results in the next couple of months. Yeah. That's what I said. And we are also open, if you have any questions for us, to answer that. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Christoph, for that. Perhaps I can also address some of the concerns you mentioned in the post, and I think it may be interesting for the community as well. As we're trying to win that, to earn that willingness of the community to work with us. So there was a mentioning and worries about the cost and resource allocations for this project, and I think that of course, for us, in order to execute this project, we're going to need to hire additional engineers. So we're going to need to extend our development teams. We're going to have to use spare time of several product managers that we have already in our company. We're going to have to hire dedicated project manager, have resources allocated on infrastructure. Remember that our solutions are software as a service, so it means that we provide everything, including SLAs and all that. So with all that in mind, you have to bear in mind that about 80% of the cost of this proposal, it goes to those buckets, right? So what we want to do, and this is something that we already discussed with Georgie, is we want to hire some full-time engineers, and those will come from the community. So we already asked Georgie, say, please talk to the community and see which are the guys who wants to come and work for us on this project, during the lifetime of this project. And we will be, scouting those CVs from the community, because they are, the knowledge they have is extremely valuable for the success of this project. And I think that would somehow revert some of the value back to the community. So we create this as an alliance, right? It's not about us selling you a product. It's about an alliance and a partnership that we enter in together. So that's, let's say, one piece to start working on that side. On the other side, we can think about, okay, what is left on that 20%, right? So that 20% goes through covering sales, marketing, education. So Christoph just spoke about education. And I think that's a great part of the proposal. So remember, we included in our proposal enablement and education to bring the community up to speed in relation to compliance, to enabling them to speak to regulators, to banks in the same language they speak. So pretty much we're going to be delivering, I believe it's about 5 online training courses for 250 people, each of 2-3 hours, each of these courses, in order to drive this educational process within the community. So that's also part of the proposal. And yeah, I mean, the idea is to get closer and closer to everyone and try to solve those questions, because it's quite difficult to get through everyone questions through these communities. So we are also, as part of this effort, right, and listening to the community, we're also going to have some dedicated budget to share some of the costs related to these marketing activities, like joint events that we plan to do, that we mentioned in our proposal. We actually are working already towards that. We have a great event coming up here in Madrid, which is called Merch. Polkadot is going to be there. We are going to be there. And we're discussing to see if we can do a side event together there, right? So where we can bring all the banks that we have in our network for Polkadot to be intro and do some networking. So that's part of what we said in the proposal we're going to do. And we're going to, immediately that the proposal is approved, is going to be launched. And this event is going to be happening, I believe it's first week of October. So, yeah, so we're going to have Saitel there. It's going to be also some head ambassadors from Polkadot. And I think that's great, because it's going to open those conversations. Guys, you're going to be the first altcoin that's going to have that compliance layer. No one else will have it. So you can overpass, Solana by far in terms of compliance, right, to be the sexy altcoin for these banks. We can also do things in Turkey. Turkey is a great market. We're working with another bank and an opportunity for you there. And we have other banks there. So we can also organize some side events. So we're happy to work on we call it a roadmap of events. Like every year, we can plan ahead and then allocate a budget to share and, work on those events that make sense for the community, for you guys and for us. And yeah, go after that. There was some mentions about also, okay, how this can be consumed, right? About the access to the data. So the only thing we ask in our proposal is we just want to make sure that no illicit actor has access to the data, because of course, it's all about compliance. If we give this information to illicit actors, they will find a way to go around, and we don't want that, right? So, thank you. So pretty much we're going to be providing APIs. So those APIs are consumable by agents in the ecosystems and also licenses. So these can be used for investigations of hacks or any fraud that happens. So you can communicate to the banks in the same language and also to the regulators. And finally, I would mention that at the very moment that we introduce DOT as mature assets in our network, about around 1,300 clients will immediately see what's happening on the ecosystem. and that will bring a lot of appetite for them to work with you and new opportunities. So I think this is a great opportunity for all of us. And yeah, perhaps the last thing I would say, and open to questions because I know it's left 2 minutes, is just to share here the chat, if I can, the case study that we just published yesterday with our partner and client Onis, who's also a agent of the community in Polkadot, and we will be they will be also involved in helping developing this business. So we have questions. Robert, please.
Just a minute remaining or less. Robert, 30 seconds.
Yeah, thanks for that. So you mentioned that you want to keep out bad actors from using your data. What does this mean? You said like you use the API to do this. What does this mean in terms of accessibility of this data?
Well, pretty much we're gonna be kind of asking people to identify when they're gonna be accessing this.
So that, okay.
Right. That's it.
Okay, so that's time there. Now we're gonna jump into some discussions for alternative proposals here. But Tommy, I did want to say real quick, this first payout, if this goes through, 2.17 million USDC. So that will mean if the T-bills one goes through, then the PBA is not going to have any USDC to draw from. Yeah, what do you got to say?
Are all of them in the same stable? Like, is all of them USD?
They're all USDC. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
More,
bad
yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
So someone will have to move to USDC.
Is there any way to swap USDT?
No, someone has to move to DOT.
Or DOT.
But you have to make a totally new proposal. See, I told you the stable treasury is the key to budgeting. You know. So now we got a big decision here. But no, anyway, first come first serve. So anyway, just want to point out that situation. We got who do we have next? Okay, Andrea, let's go to yours next because this is the next in line to end. This decision period has 5 days, 7 hours remaining. Currently sitting at 26.3% in favor. You're sharing the similar amount of nays to the chain analysis proposal, but you haven't had the ayes come out on this one yet. What did you want to share with us today?
Actually, I was expecting Global Ledger to speak first.
Yeah.
But
okay.
If I had to, then I was following the program, you know.
Yeah, I think I put that in the wrong order there. Are you ready to go, or do you need 10 more
minutes? No problem.
Oh, okay.
It would have made more sense in the other way, but it's not an issue. I will be quite quick because, like you said, the community has spoken, and the Chainalysis proposal is about to pass. I just want to answer to my fellow ambassador Georgie about what he said about me, because he was pretty rough and talking about liars and professional behavior. And I'm not the one that usually answer to ad hominem attacks, and I won't do that there. I just think I want to conclude this cycle by saying that it was two way of driving OpenGov consensus, you know. And what I regret with the Chainalysis proposal, it's more how it was presented to the community. And I want to say to Christian that I really prefer you today and what you say to us today. I felt more transparency, you know, and more accuracy about what the proposal was about, which is more something that relates. It's more like a marketing initiative than anything else. So, like, that's what I want to see in OpenGov, you know, transparency. And my main regret with this proposal, it was because I had the feeling that token holders were basing their decision on misconception about the ETF. So I think it's clear now that they're not related. And about the fact that if we're talking about compliance, you actually need many actors. So if Polkadot really want to take the institutional road, then let's make sure that we can have other KYC providers. And I agree that Chainalysis is connected to a lot of people. So from a marketing perspective, it can make sense, you know? And I'm just like, yeah, I did that also to defend the way we should drive OpenGov. And I don't think that proposal this big should be dealt, in some kind of super secret DAO and stuff like that. I think that we should have more transparency. Like I did some investigation, and actually other ecosystem have paid for Chainalysis. And I think that this information only, if it has been told from the beginning, it would have eased everything, So yes, other ecosystem have paid for that. And now that I know that, yeah, it's less difficult for me to accept that. And like you said, the community has spoken. The dot holders that said yes for now to Chainalysis. So let's have them. I have no issue with that. It was more the process, and the way things were done. Like, trust us, bro. No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So you're
Thank you so much,
No,
Andrea.
If I may,
Oh,
if
yeah,
I may
yes,
just
go ahead.
add a comment here, I'm also from Chainalysis. Thank you for your statement.
Hmm.
We have to say that it was the first time for us doing these things. We know that these sessions are also recorded, so it's very hard for us to explicit costs, explicit names of other customers who paid. It's really, a balance between being transparent to you and risking of being not professional compared to other people who can listen to the recording, embrace, right? It's not easy for a corporation like us, to address these kind of community-based talks. But I understand your point, and hopefully we kind of were able to overcome slowly a little bit this way of working. And thanks for your appreciation at this end of the period. Thank you.
Yeah, Andrea, and perhaps just to add to this is I think it wasn't clear in the last call that in my personal view, I think the proposal that you brought is complementary to our, is not competitive. But I didn't have a chance to clear that out, so I wanted to have that clear out, if that makes sense. And yeah, we're happy to collaborate with everyone. We just cannot make any commitment that we will use a piece of software without even having seen it. So, but yeah, and I think that we're here to help, collaborate, and work together with the community.
Thanks for that, Christian. And I will just repeat what he said. The three proposals are complementary, and I will just insist on that. I am a regulated actor. If I want to distribute podcast.secured product in Europe, I will need 2 KYC providers. That's it.
You need 2. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that's really an interesting development there. And are you saying, Andrea, that you're feeling like your proposal is not going to go through now? I mean, there's still quite a lot of time.
Like we say, I've been jotted. So it was yeah, we had the hope to pass it, but we got a wall of nay recently, or maybe it just changed. But that's last time I checked, it was heavy on the nay. But yeah, I still think we would bring a lot of value aside from Chainalysis, because it will open other KYC providers. And let's say that Chainalysis have the biggest institution, and other KYC providers are the ones that maybe also more keen on taking risk to onboard the ecosystem before the big institution will be ready to do it. So that's where, yeah, maybe token holders will see the value in both. And I really hope that some big accounts will remove their nay and understand that we are not in competition on the compliance level. And we need many KYC providers for that.
Okay, well, thanks very much for that, and a happy resolution to yeah, a little bit of combat a few weeks ago. Limo, by the way, when that was happening, I think it was last week, I reported that Bachelorette Jen chose Devin, but breaking news, as reported by Betches right here, Devin has broken off the engagement with Jen, and we just wish them both the best. Obviously, Devin could have been a little bit more upfront about his feelings, but that's show business. So we do have one more. What's that?
Shocking display. Oh my god.
Absolutely. We do have one more AML CTF DBD boop to discuss here. Global Ledger. We were introduced to them last week, and we are, what is this? 11 days? No, 9 days into the decision period, and not a lot of votes yet. So we have 13.45 million against and less than 50,000 for. This one looking to pick up a little bit more attention so we can know where this one's going to go. But want to welcome, hey, Lex. What are you thinking about this?
Based on the vote distribution, want to say thank you for warm welcoming.
Welcome to OpenGov.
Yeah, but actually, like we have a lot of private conversations, so I think like a lot of people been watching how other offers will end up. So it is actually cool that people here are really like listening, looking into your offer, and yeah, you know what I wanted to do today is actually interesting. When you said like AML CTF Kubidi Blue,
Yeah,
this
what is
is
that?
what I
Yeah.
get. This is what I get as a feeling when I talk to people here. So I want to spend my time really like trying to explain what people are voting for, because there are already 3 proposals on that, and a lot of people actually don't understand what the KYT is. So I try to spend my time on that. So
Thank you.
let me quickly share my screen. So basically, do you see my screen? I think
We got
you
it.
should be.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So basically, what KYT is know your transaction, right? So basically, that means like if you're receiving money, you want that these money not coming from stolen funds, maybe stolen from your buddies, right? Given the tightness of the community. And when you're sending funds, you want to make sure that they will not end up in a terrorist hands, like that another guy will not donate it there, or it's just directly not the wallet and things like that. So this is where this AML CTF PVD comes from, because AML is anti-money laundering, so no one is laundering money through your exchange, let's say, and CTF is a counter-terrorist financing, so you don't send money to terrorists. In general, another thing that I think people really having a hard time to understand is all these like light support, full support, mature asset. So I'll try to explain you like that. So let's say this is, well, let me draw it. So let's say this is your wallet, or maybe like this is your exchange wallet. Imagine you're a crypto exchange, you're very regulated, you have very strict rules to watch where your money coming from and where they're going. So this is a deposit address of your customer, right? You usually generate 1 address per 1 customer. When you register at Binance, Binance gives you a deposit wallet. So that's only yours. Like people can deposit that, but it will be displayed on your balance. So the basic support for KYT is basically like, this is like the most basic thing that could happen is a blacklist, right? So you can only check this wallet, let's say, or you might check this wallet, like, is this in some blacklists, maybe like oh fuck sanctions, or some sanctions list, or some wanted lists, or some, I know, publicly known hacks or something like that, right? This is very basic thing. What KYT provider needs to do is just connect these wallets with some sort of off-chain data on different lists. Very basic, very quickly to do it. Some providers actually call that already a light support. Some providers call like a light support, or like level 1 support, or level 0 support. Basically, we call it one hop check. Basically, you check all the direct transactions. So you check, you check this, and you check this one. So you check this one is not a blacklist, this one is not a blacklist. You check all of the transactions of the address, and then you say directly, this address was not transacting with any bad guys.
Okay.
You're done. So this is usually called light support. Either like there are providers that are existing that even have that as a full support as well. So to keep that in mind. So in general, it's pretty fine. You know, for some regulators, especially in some like small countries where they don't learn blockchain a lot as well, that's already fine. To be honest, the problem with this is hacker that knows that they can make another transaction, right? They can make something bad here. You know, they can. This could be sort of event. So these wallets are in a list, but you don't know about them because you only did that sort of check, right? So, and basically we're talking here about like maybe 5, 10 hops. In Bitcoin, it could be like hundreds, thousands of hops, or there are things called like peel chain, whatever, like where you literally can have a very long, very big tree. You know, hackers, they usually have the dodgiest partners out there. So they can, like one source of funds report can count like 40,000 you know, wallets in that tree, so they can split money into many small pieces like this. So the actual like full support encounters that. So you basically calculate many transactions back and many transactions forward until you find a real source or something that look like a source. Let's say it's a very active wallet and you see there are like deposit and withdrawal transactions happening on it that looks very much like any other exchange. So in that sort of case, you say, oh, it's exchange, I just don't know its name, but then you make a bunch of deposits and to find out which exchange it is, like what are the new changes on the market. So this is sort of a full support thing. Also, like sometimes it's not full support. In some situations, you also want to monitor what's happening here, or like in general in the whole tree, because maybe tomorrow this address will be known as terrorist. So you already send money from it, but it would be good to get an alert that, oh yeah, okay, the money we sent 2 weeks ago actually end up in a very bad hands. Like you cannot block it, you cannot stop it, you do nothing with it, but it's good to know that, okay, I have that kind of customer in my system, right? So monitoring of all these things along the tree is also like extremely important. And this is actually, if you think about the mature countries where regulators know what they're doing and law enforcement is developing things like that, right? That's what they expect from you to do. And actually, it works another way. You can also monitor the tree growing, and in this sort of case, you can investigate cybercrime this way. So let's say money was stolen here, and you can monitor how the tree is growing, get alerts if money are on the move, even if the tree is very big, even if the person is like trying to mix funds and use smart contracts and DeFi and stuff like that, you can still kind of get alerts. And let's say money went to Binance, then you call Binance and you call, say, hey, please block it, things like that.
Cool.
So this is now like the full support. This is usually the full support. But because you have all that data and you can analyze the whole entities and stuff like that, you can put on top of that statistics about the whole entity. Maybe you can say, hey, like a 5% transactions went to this exchange is fraud, let's say, or went out of the exchange is darknet. So this is the information, the entity level information of many wallets activity. Usually is valuable thing for regulators. This way, they see what is really happening in the industry. What other actors are doing. So what a blockchain index firm have to do in that sort of case in order to have that full support or light support, right? Support or level 1 support. All right. What they have to do is they do parsing of transactions, right? You parse the blockchain, usually from the node directly. You want to get the data as fast as possible. Then you do clustering. You basically try to understand if one person owns multiple wallets. And then you do labeling. You connect off-chain events to or off-chain entities, their licenses, their activity, are there in some sort of list. So you connect all of this to their wallets. And then what you do is you do scoring. This is something that allow people at exchanges that are using these tools to understand quickly, whenever they need to react on that. Like it's a high score or low score. A risk score basically means the risk of it being a transaction related to money laundering or terrorist financing. So if risk is high, that means there's very big probability that it's bad. There's something going on. If the risk is low, that means maybe it's coming from very good reputable sources, so we don't have to worry about that. This scoring algorithm is I mean, it's kind of industry average standard. So in different providers, you will get very similar scores. It's all based on whenever the sources of funds for that person are legal or illegal, whenever they are licensed or not licensed, whenever he uses like anonymizers and non-KYC things. I mean, anonymizers are not bad, but if you look at the breakdown on their sources of funds, usually they actually have a lot of hackers going in, let's say capitalizing on people that want more privacy, so they can exchange money with them, Yeah, so the example of how it looks. So this is actually one of the things that people, really, we actually presented that very badly, but we have the example because we have the MVP of the product already.
Looks
so
like we're at time there. Actually, looks like we're at time. 10 minutes.
Sorry, Jay, I'm black.
Oh, okay, all good.
Sorry.
Okay.
No, all good.
So,
That's interesting.
Should I continue or not?
No. We're at 10 minutes, so you can come back next week, though. Come back next week, and we'll talk more about it. But
Yeah,
it was
okay.
educational.
Yeah.
This is the service that Global Ledger would provide the DAO if we paid. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, actually, if you compare, that's the last thing to say, right? If you compare, so the other guys are giving you full support. Let's say Chainalysis is giving you full support, but in 10 months. What we give you is like 90% of the full support. So you get all of the things that I have described except some monitoring things, but it's basically available now. So anyone can go to us and see it, and we can demo it. It actually works for Polkadot and Kusama and I think Moonbeam. So yeah, it still makes sense while it is in development in Chainalysis, you can use our tool.
Mhm.
And also
Okay.
after Chainalysis is in the release, you can get ours for free. So if that proposal passes. So it's lowering the barrier for many companies to jump into compliance if they don't want to spend, because that's a pretty high cost.
Okay, thanks very much. And good stuff. Christoph, you said you're good at terrorizing people? Christoph brings you a Negroni. Next thing you know, you're being put in the back of a car. Watch out.
Be careful.
Be careful out
We've
there.
all can I just say one
pop
thing
in,
to
pop
all
in.
three proposals? So we spoke to all of them, and I think what Andrea mentioned before is important. The ecosystem needs more than one solution, and I think there will be more than one solution. And I agree what Tommy says. Maybe there needs to be more terrorists now, but we need to prepare the ecosystem. Hopefully for the next wave of adoption. I think being too pessimistic it's not the right thing to do, and we should all look into the future and say, okay, look, if this happens, then we are ready. That's it.
Right on. Okay, thank you. Now, speaking of pessimism, before we get on to our last presentation today, I did want to address some comments in the chat here. Now, of course, we love everybody who's in the chat and participating here, but there's some chatter about they're saying, Giotto and buddies are our dictators. And I did just want to point out that it's actually been several months since Giotto had the voting power to solely sway governance. And this is just no longer true. And because we're not going to obviously censor this chat or anything, but we are live on the Polkadot account here, so it is slightly embarrassing to have our community members pushing these stories that are just no longer true. I mean, demonstrably not true. And I would suggest again that, because there are features such as delegation, anybody can gather votes that can challenge whales of any size in the ecosystem. Would encourage everybody to move forward positively with a plan of action, because that's the only way to make change in OpenGov. Constantly complaining about things, especially things that are no longer true, is not going to get us anywhere. We do want to keep the FUD off the timeline and keep Polkadot moving forward. So let's adjust our approach here, and let's keep the chat productive. Christoph?
Yeah, just one last word, because I think you're absolutely right. It's like, and we had a discussion today, if we present the ecosystem fund to outside investors, if we should mention OpenGov or not. He said, oh no, it's such a chaos and whatever. And said, on the contrary, I think it's evolving and it's real life. If you think that politics is any different in any other country, it's not. It's maybe North Korea. It's a little different. The question is, if you want to end up in North Korea or in something where you have exactly that, you need to find alliances. You need to present your proposals. There will be deals done behind the table. That's how it is. Yeah, that's how real life is. And I think
the way it's set up now, the way it's evolving is actually a super big plus, and other chains will copy the approach for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. The trends are certainly promising, and we keep moving towards a more productive open gov. Though I will say real quick, we've had our reporter Peenan covering some of the U.S. election like economic positions, and these videos have ruffled a few feathers. Like people are like triggered, and they start like saying like why aren't you talking about this other guy and all this stuff. So kind of funny. But okay, let's move on. We got the final ref we wanted to speak about today. This is a big spender, 1141 for 1.13 million USDC from the good folks at the Polkadot Music Events Initiative. We still have Miami and Spencer on the show. What's up?
We're here.
Hey.
How we doing?
Yeah, good. Welcome back. This is in the preparation period. Looks like you just put this up, nice and fresh.
Oh, it's real fresh. Yeah, and we're very excited about this. We spent a lot of time trying to figure out what exactly we could do to focus it a little bit more and make it work. We also just like got out in the world there the DF grant that we received,
Yes,
which we're really
congratulations.
excited about. Thank you. So basically what we did was we went back to different TVs and honestly past TVs that we had great relationships with and felt like did a lot of great diligence in the past, and just to get their feedback and see what was going on, and a couple of legacy devs from Parity, and basically what we came to was an understanding that having two of these deals, although great deals together in our former ref 989, it was just a little too cumbersome. And also, you know, just like the price of DOT and where things were heading, didn't really make a lot of sense to put them together. So what we did was we separated them into two individual props. We're focusing first here on the billfold prop because it's the most pressing and it's the latest stage in its contract, which we're almost ready to sign. And then we just added a little bit more detail. We kind of focused the key points of the proposal, which I'll go over in just a second. And this basically comes in. Oh, and the other thing that we did, according to the good advice that we get at Koos, we submitted in stables. Although again, USDC, so there may not be enough by the time
I know, it's so
by the time
brutal.
this goes through.
Sorry, bro.
We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, but just to go through the key points of the proposal to make it real clear, this prop is just covering the cost of our financial obligations to Billfold. So that means like basically getting their users to engage with us and to be able to get their users for Polkadot and get them all Polkadot custodial wallets, and to be able to move USDC through with their concession payments. So it also covers marketing expenses because it's really important that this is a really big deal for the ecosystem, and we want to make sure that we also let everybody know, not just in traditional Web3 channels, but also in publications for like the music industry, to let them know that this is something that's happening and attract more attention, get some bullish nature behind it, and then like legal expenses, because there are a few things at the helm that we need to do here for the contract negotiations and so on and so forth. The second point to note is that we're only onboarding Billfold, so we're not focusing on Radiate at the moment. We're going to go for that one next once we've fulfilled our first obligations here with this, and can show that we've brought successfully 3 million users into Polkadot. Third point is it's a 3-year contract term, so that's a nice little runway for us to do some cool things with them. And then the fourth point is it'll drive 3 million accounts for loyalty rewards. So basically creating ways in which like the artists can, or vendors or brands can reward people for participating in their artistry, going to their shows, engaging with their brands. and also use of USDC on Polkadot for concession payments. So when you go and you make a payment to buy your soft drink or your vodka or your, favorite band's T-shirt, you'll be able to, have that run through USDC. Oops. And then the last piece is also pretty important. It's direct Polkadot branded marketing to all users of the Billfold platform. So when you make a concession payment, you get a digital receipt. Also on the point of sale unit, there's an opportunity for branding where like it can say a little thing that's like, the logo spins up and says secured by Polkadot. So you're actively having a great experience with Polkadot tech. You don't really, it's top of the funnel, so you don't really need to know exactly at first like what it is, but it's brand recognition and saying like, oh, this is really great. I'm something about Polkadot I don't know. And then by your fourth or fifth transaction, you're like, maybe I should check out whatever this Polkadot thing is, right? So it's really a very top of funnel type of thing. Feel free to go through the proposal. We put like additional info for the technical docs. We also have a little video in there that's like a Billfold video that they put together that just shows like some of the value prop and like how it works with some like imagery so you can understand like the full scope of the platform. That was also some feedback that we had gotten, like what is Billfold and like what do they do, and that video should help a little bit. And then just some of the ROI, both for the ecosystem, the ROI for Billfold, and just to understand a little bit more about the narrative of why this deal would be very important in bringing this on. It's a really great way to show Web3 solving a problem that Web2 can't. We can go back and use that, whether it's for us or for other people, building in the ecosystem to be able to go and say like, hey, like this is a success story, and like this is why you should have confidence in Web3 and what's going on here. So
yeah,
that's really it. If anyone has any questions, you can open it up for that, or Miami is also on the call if anybody has any technical questions. But yeah, that's it.
Cool. I'm personally in favor of this. Haven't fully went through the deep proposal here, but I think it's a great idea and sounds pretty exciting. But let's see what other people have to say. Any questions or comments on this one for Spencer or Miami? Okay.
All right.
I'm stressed about this USDC thing now. This has been I'm way more stressed now than when we started the show. This is not good.
What? Just why don't some people request USDT? That's what I don't
They were
understand.
originally we were heavy
Yeah.
USDT, and everybody
And I thought-
comes in hard on the USDC.
Was the bigger usage was USDT?
Coordination error.
Just we could do both, but we're in talks with circles, so it would look kind of rough if we are using a competitor. So that's why we specifically.
Of course, no, don't do that.
Okay.
that was
That's our
strategic.
case specifically. Yeah, our case specifically is because of circle. Otherwise, yeah, we're using either or.
Well, no, I mean it's your prerogative to use whatever you want. It's the DAO's fault that we don't have enough stable reserves. Maybe it's my fault.
Yet.
Yet, exactly. Cool, guys. I'm stoked about it. If nobody has anything else to say, it's Chaos DAO's fault. Exactly. Sorry, did someone raise their hand? No. Hey, Sergey, what's up, bro?
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yeah, congrats on your ref, by the way.
Yeah, it's on the newest one. Well, that one is not really going well, and I want to talk about it briefly here.
Okay. Hold on. We're gonna line you up, but hey, just so you know, next time if you
Yeah.
can let me know before the show, because we kind of.
Yeah, I texted you actually.
Did you?
They-
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Must have been a little close there. What's the ref number you want to speak about? Hold on. First of all, Spencer, we satisfied with what we've done today in regards to this one?
Yeah, we'll be on next week. So if anyone has any questions, and also, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or Miami on Twitter or whatever.
Okay, guys, thanks for being here, and thanks for bringing this cool thing to us.
Thanks.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, Sergey, we're gonna line you up. We're gonna tee up right now. This is court time notifications, 11:19 as part of your Region X work. Yeah, what do you want to tell us about this one?
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it brief. But essentially, I want to answer some of the comments that we received. First of all, like we previously got funding for the parachain. That's essentially like the work that was supposed to be done is done. It's live on Rococo. We deployed it. It's still not live on Polkadot. I mean, core time is not live on Polkadot yet. And also, you want to do an audit, so that's going to take time. And so essentially, we do not have really control over that. But like this proposal is something that we have noticed since core time got live on Kusama. And we also experienced it ourselves since we deployed the parachain on Rococo. So with the previous model, the parachain slot auctions, it was actually pretty much easier for parachain teams to do this like core time reservation because it was up for a long period of time. And with this newer model, it's quite more complex. And I think we should try to keep it simple for teams instead of complicating these things. So essentially, instead of up to 2 years, the sale is happening every month. There is also going to be like a feature that I worked on, the auto renewal, which will help. But essentially, if you take a look at the Polkadot forum, there is still a lot of teams that essentially have trouble with this entire process, are still not really familiar with it. And I don't think we should force them to like learn more about this, but instead try to make these things simpler. I think this is where automation can come in really useful, because I don't really see a purpose why this should be a task that is allocated to someone specifically when it can be pretty much easily automated. And this is essentially what we are offering with this proposal. Also, like these core time alerts are not only useful for the parachain teams, but would also be useful for token holders. So for example, if I hold tokens on a star or some other parachains, I could get a warning in case someone provisionally assigned core time, since in that case, like basically stop the parachain instantly because it can just be unassigned. And these types of warning that token holders on this chain should be aware of, that in such cases, these kind of issues can happen. And this is also something that we want to address. Also, one other like comment was that this could be integrated into Web3 alert. The main reasoning why we do not think that is the best solution is because, first of all, we are making everything open source, also the front end. So in case parachain teams do not want to rely on third-party services for these kinds of things, which is, I think, very reasonable, they can self-host the backend, but they can also self-host the front end, which is not possible with Web3 alerts, since that's not public. So that would be kind of tricky, and we are offering everything open source, also like similar to Polkadot.js, where you can edit the endpoint with which you are communicating when connecting to a blockchain. We also provide that user interface. So we are essentially want to make this easy for parachains. We do not want to complicate things for them, but instead try to keep it simple with this transition to Agile core time.
Okay, good stuff. So I got a few quick questions. One, where are these alerts going to appear? Is it like a Telegram alert or?
Yeah, so we are going to provide initially 2 types of notifications, actually 3. One is Telegram, another is email, and another one is like sending the notification to a custom web server, so that maybe some parachains or teams can develop some automated programs that purchase core time when I know there's only 10 cores left on Seer, or maybe renew at the beginning of the interlude phase. So essentially 3 types of notifications.
Okay, and another question purely from ignorance here. Why does it cost almost $40,000 to create a notification service? Shouldn't that be quite simple, or what am I missing?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, it does seem simple, but in essence, first of all, we are creating the separate UI where the notifications are configured instead of, so we have this central UI where users do configure these notifications and they can receive it via Telegram. Also, what takes time is like ensuring that, for example, if I set the notification for a specific email, I do actually own this email, so like authentication. Also, we tie all of the accounts to specific addresses. So also we authenticate that the user owns this address, and later they can then change the enable notifications if they prove that they own this address, the substrate address.
So there's this like you have to sign.
Yeah,
yeah.
like
Interesting,
like essentially something similar that I think bulk assembly has. So like this authentication solution. Also, the tracking is not that simple as, for example, tracking just events, because we are not just checking events, we are checking other data as well. So it's more complex to implement because of this. We are not simply tracking extrinsics or events, but instead we are tracking like in advance, we are notifying, and we have other things that we are tracking. So that is also something that takes a lot of time. I mean, more time to develop, yeah. And also the development cost of this is not 40,000, it's 32,000. The other is like basic maintenance for a year, and also covering the expenses of hosting this. So really the development is 30,000 and something, and the rest is like the maintenance over a year plus hosting this solution.
Good. Thank you for clearing that up. Okay. Do you have any other questions for Sergey? Yes, Limo.
So, on the Kusama edition of AAG, we spoke about the notorious block space baron on Kusama, who has purchased the cores on Kusama and is ruining a few projects times. Would this notification tool make it easier for Para IDs to not miss their renewals, right? Because on Kusama, they've missed renewals, and now it's a real big problem, right?
Yeah, this is something that could have actually prevented this. And we are also, because we are building around core time, we have experienced that many of the teams do not have exact understanding of how this system works. So most of them actually, they can actually do the renewal whenever in the sale, but if they want to be guaranteed to be able to renew, they would do it in the interlude, which, like we can see on the forum post, many of them did not do. And this is purely because either they were not checking this, or they do not fully understand how this system works. And this is something we are trying to ease with this kind of alert program.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Great. Sergey, thanks for coming on. Sorry I missed your message there. But yeah, let's see. Just about a third of the way through the decision period here. So if there's anything else you want to address in the future, just let me know.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Well, that ends the presentation portion of this week's show. We're running a little overtime here, but we'll take a quick trip down a few refs of intrigue here. And if anybody on the panel has one they're watching they want to bring up, do let me know. But just looking at the presentations we had recently, from pitch to market, this is the PokeBiz proposal. Has not managed to get any ground since their appearance on the show last week. PVM. This one, this team usually enjoys a lot of support, but for the PVM so far, not a lot of votes coming in yet, but heavily on the nay side there. We also have Yip Clouds, who came on the show. Didn't manage to get any ground after her presentation last week, but I think she's still going to go ahead with this one anyway. And yeah, those are the only ones that I had in mind. Limo, anybody else looking at refs sailing through?
I think we covered most of them. There's PokerWatch, that decentralization analytics thing
Yeah,
that we
that's a big
spoke
one.
about
Yeah.
like 100 episodes ago or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. This is one I'd like to see go through. Which number is that?
1132.
1132. I think he's the only one doing this this work, and without him, we really wouldn't know how decentralized the validator set is. Okay, 100% in favor. 9.1 million for. That's going pretty well. Who has their hand up there?
It's me.
Funkatron. What do you want? What do you want to look at?
It just B-Check wanted couldn't come last week. I was trying to get him on the show this week, but I knew he would be on the end because I tagged you, probably at like 11 a.m. and I was like, hey, can you put him on? But I told him, I said you'd probably be like 6:30 your time because I figured it'd be toward the end of the show, and so he couldn't make it. But
okay,
I'm just conveying the message that they're still interested. What they're trying to do is just get feedback from the panel today and get like what would be acceptable. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to meet on Monday and just look for like a discussion with a poll and some options and stuff like that. Just to try, because if it's a much smaller targeted ask, it might be something we could just take to the marketing bounty, because I think there's still some funds in there. And so anyhow, I just wanted to at least mention that while we were on the actual show still.
Okay, sorry, I missed your message.
No, dude, look, I know you're really busy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I certainly make it appear so. But yeah, no, thanks, Funk. We that ref you brought up at the beginning of the show, Limo, with Shidanda's mystery whitelisted caller. This has been updated, so it's to upgrade Polkadot to version 1.3.x. But it's doing the transition to agile core time for Polkadot. Yeah, Lee.
Really quick one. If you know anybody that is on the WASM Smart Contracts bounty, you need to tell them to renew their curator position, so it runs out in a week.
Has that bounty been active at all?
There is a pending payout, so it seems relative. Like maybe it's a bit active, but I didn't know it was. But yeah, so 7 days left. So maybe renew your bounty seat.
How's your ref going to close all those bounties?
If you vote nay on that, you're a bit of an idiot. But yes, 100% aye, apart from 10 dot, which is from capital staking and compute crypto. Shocking.
Sounds like an auto nay.
Yeah,
Tommy's asking in the comments about bringing up something for USDC.
What's that?
Tommy in the comments is asking about, can you make another point about the USDC thing?
Oh, I missed it. Tommy, yes, please. Oh my God, settle my heart.
Now, I'm just thinking, maybe there's a little bit of a foreshadowing, or no foreshadowing. I mean, it's a call to have a more clear picture about how much money is being made available for spending and how much we're actually spending, right?
Yeah.
Because at some point in time, we might hit a limit of how much Polkadot Treasury can spend and how much it has available, right? So this is maybe an early call to get more specific into that thinking. So Giotto's argument in the past was the budget of Polkadot is however much is flowing into it. This is sort of the budget of last resort. But the question is, do we really want to reach that point where we just run out of all the available treasury money and just wait for that stuff that is trickling in, or do we want to have a more long-term perspective on what Polkadot actually wants to spend on, right? So I think maybe this is a point in time where we are reminded that this will become relevant at some point.
No doubt about it. Well, yeah, it's interesting with this these limits on stablecoins. It really gives us that sense. I do like though this 5 million that Joe's putting through. Let's say okay, everybody's wishes come true and Polkadot is back to 50 million. By the time that's done, that DCA is done, it's possible that we may have a stablecoin treasury large enough to not have to touch DOT for a couple years if our spending habits continue. And if, 15% of the inflation is always going to the treasury, I think we can return to those glory days of what did we have in the treasury at one point? 44 million in the treasury? I think we can get back there, 44 million DOT in the treasury. But we'll have to see. Obviously, we have to keep FUD off the timeline and keep this train going. Let's just take a quick look at the confirming refs before we go. We do have a few. One is the PAPI, August to January 2025 development. This one is confirming right now for almost 600,000 USDT. We have FeedEye. Oh, shoot, I hope I said that right. Polkadot Code Free Intelligence. They were on the show last week, and they've oh, wait, what? I don't know how they ended up here. Nope, just ignore that. We have a top-up request for retroactive DOT in the confirmation period. This is for 37,000 USDT. Yeah, here we go. A proposal to use DED to conduct targeted marketing during Korea Blockchain Week. This is confirming as well. I wasn't able to figure out how much DED they actually wanted to spend here, because I don't really know the decimals on this, but anyway, hope it's not all the DED. That's at 57% going through. Apollon has got their top up through, and I'm happy to see that. This is 183,000 USDC for them. And of course, the Chainalysis proposal now 1 hour and 45 minutes away from sudden death. We will definitely see that next week, and including centrifuge in the marketing narratives. This is also confirming on the Wish for Change track. That's AAG 163, everybody. Want to thank you all very much for participating in this epic show. And we will be back next Monday for some more attempts at governance. Have a great weekend, everybody.